How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. What are the best cryptos to buy right now? If you want to become wealthy, right? You're trying to dollar cost average, or maybe you want to just buy and try to swing trade. What are the best cryptos to buy for the beginning, really, of June, right? We're getting into the second half of the year. This is getting to be a really interesting time because we're starting to see cryptos cool off a little bit. Now, I am filming this a few days before it's going up, but right now, Bitcoin is around 26,300. Honestly, if it moves up a little bit, this doesn't really change my outlook here today on some of the best cryptos to buy. Now, obviously, cards on the table, everyone's going to be different. My risk tolerance is different than yours. My goals are different than yours. My portfolio is different from yours. So this is not perfect for everyone, but there are some interesting cryptos. And I don't even know what this title is, if it's like the top 5 cryptos to buy. There are going to be more than that I'm talking about in today's video. This is going to be an interesting one. And it's not going to be the same recycled, buy Bitcoin, DCA over time. I'm going to talk about some other cryptos as well. Now, off the bat, I should say, though, my portfolio is mostly Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is the safest thing to hold in a bear market, but there's some other cryptos that I hold, and some recent cryptos that I bought for the first time that I want to talk about that, and some other cryptos I'm looking at. So if you don't mind, hit subscribe underneath the video so you can see these videos in the future. Turn on that bell notification so you know right when I post videos. And there are links underneath the video in case you want to know what I'm buying and selling in crypto to Patreon. And there are other links down there as well in case you want some free money. Now, Bitcoin is obviously the Mac Daddy of them all. That pretty much is going to move the market, right? There's some difference in dominance where, yeah, Bitcoin dominance can go up or down a couple percentage in a week or a couple weeks. But recently, the market's been pretty boring. However, there are a couple big things that have happened recently that could cause the whole market to move. The Fed looks like they're going to U-turn, or at least stop raising rates. The minutes just came out on Wednesday saying that less Fed officials were confident that we're going to need more rate hikes. They're pretty much signaling that you're not going to have to raise anymore. Now, they can't just say that. They still have to be harsh on us, so that way the markets don't race up. And that's already been happening, like with the NASDAQ. It's up 20% plus this year already. So there's still been a lot of excitement, but the Fed is looking like they're going to change their tune here. Inflation is coming down. Trueflation just said a few days ago on Wednesday, today's CPI was under 3%. We have a 2 out in front. This measures what's actually happening on websites in real time instead of looking at things in the past. So inflation does seem to be getting a lot better. At the same time, we are seeing banks break, so the Fed can't go and continue to raise rates without breaking more of the economy. That's not the goal. The goal is to bring inflation down as quickly as possible without breaking anything too much. So that's the real goal, and trying to keep people employed. Now, they have to kind of test that limit, see how far they can raise, because if they had room to raise more, they wouldn't want to leave that on the table. They want to see when things start to break, and that's when they hold off, in my opinion. At the same time, we're starting to see China possibly get into crypto. CCTV, China Central Television, just broadcasted crypto, talking about how citizens can start buying on June 1. Now, of course, all this is positive news. Some of this is baked into the market, but overall, I think it's important to remember the tech stocks have moved up a lot over the last month or 2 months. Crypto hasn't really moved that much. There's a lot of potential here, and 𝗚cie𝗍𝗩𝗡 says that as well. Bitcoin's compression has been insane recently. The 7-day high versus the 7-day low has been really tight recently, as you can see here, and this could lead to some volatility. There's basically been just a couple percent change within a week. There's pretty much been no volatility. So we could be gearing up for something big. Now, with that being said, we could always fall down, we can always go up, but if you're long-term bullish on crypto, these are the cryptos that I'm looking at and wanting to buy more of. First of all, Bitcoin. Bitcoin has hit the 200-week moving average several times. We don't usually go below it that long in a bear market. This bear market, we have stayed below it. But if you're looking at crypto, think about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only asset, one of the only assets in the world that cannot change in terms of circulating supply. It can't change more than what's already planned, right? So anything else I've said this before, but if all of a sudden whiskey becomes really popular, they're going to make more whiskey. If a certain area becomes really popular for people to live in, they're going to build more apartment buildings. All that, right? Bitcoin cannot be made more of besides what's already planned, the 21 million Bitcoin. So there's a scarcity to it. It can also be sent across the world. It's decentralized, and there are no third parties. So Bitcoin, obviously, if you're looking at crypto, I think you have to look at Bitcoin. It's not going to 10, 20x probably in the next couple of years, but it could do a nice 5 to 10x. That would be kind of my top for the next cycle. And I think it could do really well, and it's less risky than everything else on the list. But let's get past that. The next one on the list, Ethereum. And these are the boring ones. Don't worry, I have lots of other ones that are more degen, some small ones. Ethereum has been burning. It's been becoming more and more scarce. So 0.3% actually has been burned since the merge in 251 days. I believe this is annualized out. So yeah, 0.3% a year. This isn't a time where we're in a bear market. It's going to become much more deflationary when it's being used more, and we've seen that recently. We've actually become a lot more deflationary. I think Ethereum is here to stay as the number 2 crypto, at least for a long time. There's some problems with it. It does need to scale up, right? There's some issues if we want to use it a lot, but I think it's a great, it's got great tokenomics, and it's got a huge amount of adoption compared to every other crypto. There are more people building on it as well. So Ethereum has to be number 2. Now, one thing that is kind of interesting that's happened recently with Bitcoin is they have had BRC20 tokens and Bitcoin ordinals, which is kind of pulling a little bit away from Ethereum. Ethereum was kind of the place where all that was happening, but now Bitcoin, people are building on Bitcoin. So that's an interesting thing too. That could lead to more people buying Bitcoin in the future as well. Now let's get past that. Recently, I actually published a video. If I was going to buy 3 cryptos and hold for a long time, what 3 would I buy? And I was really trying to think about like what would round out a portfolio really well. If you're going to hold Bitcoin and Ethereum, because those are both kind of risk off, what other asset could do really well? Now, this is not actually a crypto. I have more cryptos on the way though, but I thought about how this would make a lot of sense to hold something like MicroStrategy or CleanSpark, some kind of Bitcoin oriented stock that is not diluting shareholders too much. I mean, CleanSpark is, but they're buying more rigs, so they're not just paying themselves a ton of money. But have some stock like that and then sell call options. I'm not going to spend too much time on that here, but if you want to watch that video, I'll put it on the end screen because that one is super interesting. I would definitely watch that video to get more information on this, but that's a good way of making some passive income and still being related or still being invested in a crypto related asset. Now let's move on from there because that's a little bit boring. I realize that. Let's talk about XRP. Now the next crypto is one that I never thought I would be talking about. It's one that I've actually stayed away from talking about. And I'm not telling you to go out and buy this. To be clear, none of these I'm saying to go out and buy, but this one especially because I don't even hold a position in this. And I need to do more research on it. I have a big bull on XRP that's going to talk to me soon about the bullish scenario, but XRP has been making waves. Now, there are some problems I see with holding XRP, which I'll talk about further into the video, but they've been making a lot of announcements recently. They just acquired a stake in Bitstamp, and this is actually the place that has the second highest trading volume for XRP. So it's interesting there that they're buying a part of it. But they also announced Warren Jensen as joining their board of directors, and they have probably one of the most star-studded casts in crypto. They have ex-treasurer Rosie Rios, JP Morgan Chase's former chief regulatory affairs officer Sandy O'Connor, and managing director of Albright Stonebridge Group, Michael Warren. This is in addition to Jensen, who's held positions at Amazon, Delta Airlines, NBC, Electronic Arts, and Nielsen. So star-studded cast. They also recently acquired Mateco, a Swiss-based provider of digital asset custody and tokenized technology. Maybe a good time to be doing that with Ledger kind of blowing up recently in a bad way. They may be able to get some people to join their company there with digital asset custody. So kind of an interesting diversification away from their main business. They also are highly related, or they're very tied to the SEC lawsuit. Like their price is up and down based on what people think about the SEC lawsuit. It's been going on for years. So I think of that as, I don't want to say a drawback, but it's very, the price is very dependent on how that goes. So obviously, if they win that, the price is going to move up very quickly. Even if they're just rumors that they're going to win it, it's going to go up quickly. I think the whole crypto space will probably move up if they win that SEC lawsuit. I think that's good for everyone in crypto, not just XRP. But who knows whether that's actually going to resolve in the next 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, a couple of years. We don't know at this point. But there has been some good news on that recently. The SEC can't seal docs tied to Hinman's Ether speech. Basically, when the SEC said that they didn't think Ethereum was a security, those are the documents. And the SEC now is trying to seal those up so that XRP couldn't look at them and use them in the court, but that was ruled against. Also, about a year ago, the judge said that there's hypocrisy coming from the SEC side, that they've been ruling. Basically, they've been pushing regulation without actually giving any clear information to what they're regulating exactly. And they said that again recently. Now, a couple things that are interesting on XRP. The price is about the same as it was at the end of 2017. Actually, the midpoint of 2017. It went to all-time highs back at the end of 2017, up to $2 and, actually up to $3.30 at the very peak. We're way down from there. Now, in some people's minds, that's great because we are much lower than we were. However, we didn't even hit the all-time high last bull cycle. So that's a little bit odd. I don't really like to see that. I want to see cryptos continue to hit all-time highs and then come back down and then hit all-time highs. This makes me wonder if we will get back up there or if they're just diluting too much, because recently they did announce that they sold 336 million of XRP tokens in just Q1, which it is a pretty large market cap. It's a $24 billion market cap. So that is something to pay attention to, though, because that is still 6%. If you annualize that out, that's 6% of the token supply each year. So to stay at the same market cap, they're going to have a significant amount more buying than selling because there are more tokens on the market. That's something that's great about Bitcoin and Ethereum is they're either deflationary or they're just slightly inflationary, and there's a scarce amount of them. There's a set amount of them compared to Ripple, which seems like they just sell more whenever they need a little bit more liquidity. So this one I see as a little bit more risky than Bitcoin or Ethereum, actually a lot more risky. There's also more potential upside in the short term, possibly, but a lot more risk. So I have not bought this one yet. I'm going to do some more research, talk to a couple bulls, see if they can sway me. But they still have been announcing a lot of big things recently, which I do think is making them fundamentally stronger. I just don't like all the dilution that's happening because I'm not sure that them actually gaining more adoption is causing them to actually go up in price, because if they can just dilute more, that seems to kind of negate the network adoption. Okay, now let's get really degen. Something that I bought recently. It's a $40 million market cap, and it's Hourglass, the weight token. This is a really interesting one. The reason I say that is they have possibly some of the best marketing in crypto, and not just marketing like they're paying influencers for promotions or they're just, running ads. They have gotten real influencers to come to parties. I went to this party that is shown on the screen here. Jet is doing an awesome job with Hourglass, and he's gotten some of the biggest influencers in the space to join in on them. Recently, we just had actually Ben from BitBoy Crypto say that he is now partnering with Hourglass as well. And we have other people too, Leah Hepburn. We have Cryptos Are Us. There's another influencer too that eludes me at this point, but he is also a really big influencer in the space that is getting involved as well with Hourglass token, and they're integrating in different ways. They're gonna integrate with the next Crypto Gem show, so that's really cool. And to be clear, I'm not getting paid by them to talk about this. I do have some of their tokens, and that's why I'm talking about it. It's actually up 20% in the last day, and there are more influencers getting in on it. $30 million market cap, so still small. risky. I'm not saying to go buy this. I'm saying there is some risk in it, but I think there's also potential. Now, moving down the list from there, I do own Polygon. I think Polygon can do well in the next bull market. It's more scalable than ETH. It's cheaper than ETH. I'm not sure it's an ETH killer, but I think it can be complementary with ETH. Another crypto that I'd love to add some more of is further down on the list, a little bit more degen, Phantom. Phantom's in at 33 cents. It went up to like 60 cents when we had a little bit of an altcoin run a couple months ago. Now down at 33 cents. I actually took some profits when we did make that big move up. It's under $1 billion market cap now though, and it is widely adopted. They have a great amount of cash sitting in their treasury. I really do think that that Phantom could do well in the next bull run as well. And I would say it would be smart, I think, to hold some cash. I know people give me a hard time when I say cash, but cash is king in a bear market. You don't want to put everything into the market and then be sitting on the sidelines, SOL, if we do fall back down. So I do have cash on the sidelines to get ready. So those are my picks: Bitcoin, ETH, some kind of stock that you can run calls on, which I'm actually doing with CleanSpark. Then XRP is interesting to me. I'm not buying right now, but I am going to get more information on that, learn a little bit more. Hourglass, then we have Polygon, and then we have Phantom as well, and then some cash too. So that's a lot here for you here today. If you don't mind, I love making these videos. Let me know if you like them by saying that in the comments section. Again, there are links underneath the video to get more information. And if you want some free stocks or free crypto and stuff like that, links underneath the video. Check out Margex in case you want to trade on leverage, and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.